My name is Kelly, and I'm 30 years old. I live happily in an ordinary family in the city, married with children. I met my husband, Tom, at work. We were colleagues and got married at the rather young age of 24, and now we have 3 daughters. We both work and share the responsibilities of household chores and raising our children. Tom always takes the initiative to put the kids to bed and do the dishes, making him an impeccable husband and father. I thought my happy life would never change. Then one day, Tom received a phone call from his mother. "Hey Tom, I need to talk to you about something. Could you come back home and live with us?" His parents are getting older and feel insecure about their daily lives, so they wanted their eldest son, Tom, to live with them. However, before we got married, Tom and I made a promise to each other. Even if years pass and situations change, we won't move back to live with your parents. Tom's family home is in a rural area that you might see in dramas, where traditional gender roles are deeply ingrained. I felt this when we went to visit before our wedding. His mother directly told me, "Hurry up and give us a male heir. A girl won't do. You must have a boy." I, who grew up in an area not at all rural, was horrified and got goosebumps from her words. After getting married and having children, the pressure from my in-laws only increased. We would visit them during long holidays like summer break with our daughters, and it was a given that they would conspicuously say, "We do wish you had a boy." Moreover, they even mistreated our daughters. Tom's brother's children included a boy, and when my daughters reached for the snacks their grandmother laid out, she scolded, "Hey! Don't you dare take before the boy." Such lack of manners. My daughters, not understanding why they were being scolded, burst into tears, and my father-in-law grimaced at their crying as if it were a nuisance. Despite being their grandchildren, the difference in treatment based on gender made every visit unpleasant for me. I once told Tom about how awful it was, and he said, "Well, it's a rural household, you know." The belief in male superiority is strong. Since we're not living with them, just bear it for a while. It was this aversion that led us to promise never to live with them. This isn't right. Instead of us, why can't your brother and his wife, who live nearby, move in with them? I desperately pleaded with Tom. However, Tom said, "My folks want me, the eldest son, at home. Can't you understand?" and spent a long time trying to persuade me. I couldn't understand why it had to be the eldest son and not the younger. In the end, I reluctantly agreed, and our family moved to the countryside. I had to quit my job, and Tom transferred to a branch office near his parents' home. I wanted to work at the branch office near our new home as well, but my mother-in-law vehemently opposed, saying, "A working mom? You have housework to do at home. It would be embarrassing to show your face around the neighborhood, so please stop." Having my trust broken and living with my in-laws was bad enough, but being forced to quit a job I loved pushed me to my limit. Yet, Tom, my husband, seemed happy to be back in his hometown, spending every night drinking with old classmates. I wanted to share my pain with Tom, but his new routine of heading straight to the bar after work and leaving home early on weekends drastically reduced our time together. To make matters worse, I was constantly pierced by my in-laws' remarks like, "When will we get a grandson?" and "Hurry up and give us an heir." Since returning home, Tom had changed entirely. "Hey, isn't dinner ready yet? I told you to have it made by the time I get back from work. Sounds like the kids are fighting. Go check on them quickly, will you?" He became demanding, expecting dinner ready upon his return and quickly addressing any children's quarrels, a stark contrast to his previous involvement in household duties. His parents turned him into a domineering husband, issuing orders as if he were royalty. Around his hometown friends, he became even worse, mockingly saying, "She's really useless, huh? Can't even cook properly, stopped wearing makeup, and gave me 3 daughters instead of a son. Totally useless." Each time Tom ridiculed me in front of others. I felt my self-worth diminish, struggling to find reasons to smile. The relentless negativity from living with my in-laws and Tom wore me down. Amid this, Tom abruptly declared, "All daughters, no use to me. I don't need to support a useless wife and 3 daughters. We're getting a divorce." Normally, such words from a husband would be shocking, but to me, who had been demeaned and dismissed, it sounded like a liberation. However, I couldn't agree with the "no need to support" part. I demanded child support for our 3 daughters until each turned 18 as a condition for the divorce. Initially hesitant, Tom agreed after his parents offered to help with payments, eager for him to remarry and hopefully have a son. Is having a son to carry on the family name really that important to you? I was so appalled that I was lost for words. Together with the lawyer, we drafted a child support agreement and signed it. The moment Tom signed, he said, "Gonna go out for drinks," and just left, never to return until the day my daughters and I moved out. 2 years post-divorce, I found myself at an airport for a vacation. Waiting at the gate, I heard a familiar voice, "Hey, isn't that Kelly?" No way. Turning around, there was Tom. With a woman beside him. I feel like I've seen this woman somewhere before. As I was racking my brain, unable to pinpoint where, Tom graciously introduced her. "This is my new wife, a middle school classmate of mine." When Tom said that, I was like, oh, and remembered. She was the woman who laughed along with him when he made fun of me in front of his friends from back home. Her name was, if I recall correctly, Mary. "Long time no see, Tom. You're Mary, right?" Whoa, the ex-wife remembers me? Creepy. "Yeah, I remember you. You were grinning at me that time." I was about to say that but held back, knowing it would only lead to trouble. Then Mary, looking me up and down, said, "So the ex-wife who could only give birth to girls ended up divorced, how sad." "Sorry, I ended up remarrying him." Yeah, she was all about those daughters. "We can't have an heir this way," said the folks, "so I divorced her." How awful. The two of them were enjoying making fun of me. I wondered what kind of words would come out of these two if I stayed silent. "Having all girls, you must be worried about your old age," Tom said. Why would having girls make me worried about my old age? I genuinely didn't understand, so I asked Tom. "If you don't have a son to carry on the family name, the lineage ends, right?" Tom replied with an outdated mindset. "A daughter could marry and solve that issue," I retorted, but Tom said something even more sexist. "Girls are supposed to marry into a family. It's not for them to carry on a family name." Despite us being born in a modern era, Tom sounded like an old man out of touch with the times. Just listening to this is exhausting. As I was about to leave, "Kelly, what's up?" a pleasant voice called my name. I turned towards the voice and saw my current husband coming over at a brisk pace, with our 3 daughters in tow. Thankfully, our eldest, who was 5 at the time of the divorce, didn't seem to remember her biological father. "Who's that?" my daughters asked, tilting their heads, to whom I said, "Sit over there on that chair and wait," keeping them away from Tom. "Oh, are those my daughters? They've all grown up." Tom acted overly sentimental on purpose, then looked over at my current husband. "Nice to meet you. I'm Tom, Kelly's ex-husband," he said with a smirk. "Hello, nice to meet you," my current husband replied with a casual greeting. Then he turned to Tom and asked. I could hear Tom's voice from quite a distance, so I wondered what was going on. "Did you need something from my wife?" Tom answered jokingly. "Nah, just felt nostalgic seeing her after so long. Gave me a lot of trouble, this one did." "What kind of trouble?" As if to say, "Please do ask," Tom moved closer to my husband. Despite having 3 kids, all of them turned out to be girls. My family wanted a male heir and felt like marrying her was a waste of time, you know? Guess I ended up with someone who can only have girls, huh, it's funny. "What are you talking about?" My husband, who had been gentle until now, responded to Tom's words with a hint of intimidation. Tom seemed to notice the shift in the atmosphere and hesitated for a moment. Undeterred, my husband continued. "Perhaps you're not aware? The sex of the children is determined by the father." "What do you mean?" Tom tilted his head. "The sex of a child is determined by the type of chromosomes. XX for a girl, XY for a boy." Tom listened to my husband's explanation with a look that suggested he might or might not understand. "And while women only carry X chromosomes, men carry both X and Y. So, the sex of the child depends on whether the man's X or Y chromosome pairs with the woman's X chromosome, essentially meaning it's the man's fault. What? Tom was surprised by this revelation, raising his voice. People around us turned to look, making me feel a bit embarrassed. Unfazed, Tom pressed my husband with a loud voice. It was shaking enough to convey his agitation. "That's just a story made up to console women who can only have daughters," my husband retorted sharply. "I'm an OBGYN doctor. I don't lie." Then, the whole thing about female belly, male belly is. That's indeed a made-up story. Seriously. Upon learning that he was the reason for the birth of the three sisters, Tom was clearly shocked. I, who had been infuriated by his constant mocking of me as useless in producing a male heir, felt a bit relieved seeing him like that. Might as well tell him now. Seeing a good opportunity, I told Tom something. I had a child with him, and it was a boy. He's being looked after by my parents right now. We don't care about the gender like you do, but just so you know. You had a boy? Tom said, looking even more shocked. However, he quickly seemed to remember something, grabbed my shoulders with confidence, and declared, Mary is pregnant now too. This family tends to have boys, so the baby in her belly is definitely a boy. Tom, perhaps unsettled by the fact that I had a son, had completely forgotten the earlier conversation about my husband and looked at me with a smug face, as if he had one. I was appalled by Tom's behavior, but my husband spoke up, as if to voice what I wanted to say. I told you that the gender of a child is determined by the male side. Oh, right. Tom blushed with embarrassment. At this moment, I decided to ask Tom a question that I had been pondering for a long time. By the way, I've been wondering for a while. Tom looked up at me as I spoke. Your family doesn't run a company or a store. Your father-in-law is just an ordinary office worker, and your mother-in-law is a housewife, just an ordinary family. So why are you so obsessed with having an heir when your family isn't all that significant? My words "isn't all that significant" seemed to strike a nerve with Tom. He seemed angry. Carrying on the family name through the males is the most important thing, it's our pride. To this, my husband sharply retorted. Well, we just can't understand that countryside mentality. Indeed. I agreed with my husband. My husband then further addressed Tom. I run an OB/GYN clinic, but it doesn't matter to us whether our successor is our son or any of our daughters. We've never been fixated on that. Tom had nothing to reply, just silently stood there. Also, this time, my husband turned back to Mary. Traveling abroad during pregnancy isn't really recommended. If something happens over there, you could be charged a fortune in medical expenses. Do you have insurance? Mind your own business. From her reaction, it seems she doesn't have insurance. Silence fell among us as both Tom and Mary stopped talking. However, the silence was soon broken by the boarding announcement for our flight. Let's go. My husband said, taking my hand and heading to the boarding gate with our daughters who were sitting and waiting. Tom ridiculed us loudly. Hey! First-class passengers board first, you know. Is this your first time flying or something? With a smug smile, I told Tom and Mary at their most mocking. We're in first class. Their faces looked incredulous. Possibly jealous of our better life, it led Tom to hurl insults one after another. But none of what he said affected me. Just a simple, "Excuse me, I'll be leaving ahead," I said with a smile and quickly boarded the plane. Don't get too cocky. Just make sure your husband doesn't get tired of you. As we moved away from them, Tom's insults faded into the background. A month later, while vacuuming the living room, my phone in my pocket started vibrating. It was a call from an unknown number. Initially, I ignored it, but it kept ringing persistently, so I decided it wasn't a simple wrong number and answered. Hello? I waited for the caller to speak first without introducing myself. Hey, it's me, Tom. I didn't want to hear an annoying voice coming through the phone. It was Tom. What do you want? I responded coldly. Then Tom made a brazen proposal. Exempt me from paying child support for our 3 daughters. What's this all of a sudden? I thought he was just spewing insults when we met after a long time, and now he's asking for an exemption from child support payments? I decided to ask Tom for his reasons, just in case. When we met at the airport the other day, you said Mary was pregnant, right? We recently found out the gender, and it turns out to be another girl. Then my parents started furiously harassing Mary. Really? Unable to bear it, Mary left home, and now she's being told to get a divorce and is also being asked for child support for the unborn child. Really? Really? Don't you have anything else to say? Nope. Not interested. Besides, it's entirely your own doing. That's heartless. No matter how heartless it may sound, I truly couldn't care less about my ex-husband's current situation. Perhaps because it was over the phone, Tom couldn't grasp my disinterest and continued regardless. So, from now on, I'll have to pay child support for the 3 daughters I have with you, plus 1 more child with Mary, making it 4 in total. That sounds tough. Right. So, I won't exempt you. Why not? Indeed, paying for 4 children might be challenging. However, this situation is Tom's own making. There's no need for me to be concerned. Yet, Tom began to laugh in a resigned tone. Well, oh man. You don't know? If the recipient of child support gets remarried, there's a high possibility that the child support payments can be waived, you know? After our reunion that day and learning that I had remarried, Tom must have immediately looked it up. He likely flaunted this knowledge he found online to me. However, anticipating my own remarriage at the time of our divorce, I had added a clause to the agreement. Whether Tom failed to read it thoroughly or simply forgot, he demanded the cessation of payments triumphantly. I informed Tom of the oversight. Even if I remarry, the child support will continue. It's clearly written in the agreement. No way! On the phone, Tom was silent for about 5 seconds before he yelled so loudly I thought my eardrum would burst. It's not a lie. If you think it's a lie, why don't you read the copy of the agreement you have from the beginning to the end again? Damn, just wait a sec. Saying that, Tom must have put his cell on a desk or somewhere because I heard a thud, followed by the sound of him starting to run. I wish I could hang up right now. I thought about hanging up, but I figured Tom would just call back persistently, so I quietly waited with the phone to my ear. Found it. I'm reading it now, so wait. Gotta wait again. I wished someone would praise me for being so patient. See, it's written right there. Shut up, wait a sec, Found it? It seemed Tom had found the section I mentioned. I could hear his silly voice. Damn, I didn't know about this. You added this clause on your own, didn't you? We made it in the presence of a lawyer, remember? Or have you forgotten that too? Being reminded of his forgetfulness, Tom fell silent again. Now, wondering what he would do next, Tom suddenly changed his attitude and started pleading with me. I'm sorry. It was my fault. I apologize. I just lost my mind over the child support payments and acted out. Please forgive me. However, I couldn't help but feel that these words from Tom were nothing but lies. If you had come to me with humility from the start and sincerely apologized for everything, I might not have waived it, but I would have considered reducing the amount. Upon hearing my words, I could practically hear the color draining from Tom's face over the phone. Truly, it sounded just like that. As proof, Tom kept apologizing to me over and over again. I'm really sorry. Please. If you don't forgive me, I'm really gonna go bankrupt. If this weren't a phone call, Tom would probably be getting on his knees. Hearing his desperation, I sighed. I had no feelings left for Tom. Therefore, whatever happened to Tom, I really didn't care. Wanting to quickly put an end to this situation, I put Tom in an even worse position. No matter how much you apologize, it's pointless. I couldn't care less whether you're miserable now. While I'm at it, I'll let you in on this too. I knew about you and Mary's affair. What? Why didn't you say anything? Tom asks why, but I ignore him and continue. I found out right before we got divorced, but... So what? It seems Tom has quickly forgotten he's asking for a favor, his tone shifting back to his usual condescending one. It's good that Tom remains such a terrible ex-husband. I didn't hold back when I told him. I'll be filing for alimony due to your affair. Wait, hold on. How can you suddenly bring this up now? Tom was flustered, but quickly tried to regain composure. You have no proof, and it's been quite a while since we got divorced. You can't possibly claim alimony now. Too bad, you can claim alimony for infidelity even after the divorce. And I do have evidence. When did you get that? Back then, the street where Tom's family lived was a typical small town where everyone knew each other's business. Tom and Mary, who were old classmates, reconnected at a gathering and hit it off. Photos of Mary in the passenger seat of Tom's car and them holding hands were sent to me by someone, I don't know who, specifically addressed to me. When I opened them, I was so heartbroken to learn about Tom's affair that I wanted to throw them away immediately. However, I kept them just in case they might be useful someday. and now, they've come in handy. I was quite proud of myself for having the foresight back then and wanted to extend my greatest thanks to the unknown person who sent the photos. After telling Tom about the evidence, he changed his attitude again. I'm sorry. It was just a moment of folly. Please forgive me. I was getting tired of hearing I'm sorry. Please forgive me from my husband over and over. I honestly told him my feelings. Look, it's pointless to keep talking. Can I hang up now? I'll have the same lawyer as last time draft the alimony agreement and send it to you. I'll keep contacting you until you sign it. Do you even have a heart? I don't, not when it comes to you. You. And I definitely didn't want to hear that from you. This, you greedy woman. Go to hell. I yelled back at him for his outburst. I'm not the one going down. Hey, waita. Tom tried to say something, but I didn't care and hung up the phone. Shouting like that at the end really cleared my head. Now, I need to contact my lawyer and get those papers drafted ASAP. Oh, but I still haven't finished cleaning. I resumed cleaning the living room that I had interrupted and, after finishing, immediately started working towards filing for alimony. When I sent the affidavit to Tom, he tried through his lawyer to get out of paying child support again. But I firmly refused. According to what the lawyer said, Tom and Mary had officially divorced. At the same time, the payment of child support for Mary's children was decided. Even worse, since those two were middle school classmates, the story spread like wildfire in our small town. It seemed there had been quite the rumor going around when Mary moved out of Tom's family home, but after the divorce was finalized, there was talk spread by Mary's parents and Mary herself about Tom and his in-laws' wrongdoings. In our small town, Tom's family was looked down upon as the man who tormented his ex-wife and her family, now paying child support for 4 children as retribution. It seemed unlikely he would find someone to remarry in town. Most of our classmates felt sorry for Mary and sided with her, leaving Tom isolated in the local community. Furthermore, the story reached Tom's workplace in no time, and unable to withstand the looks from those around him, Tom quit his job. With no income, how is he gonna pay child support and alimony? I was worried whether he would be able to pay properly, but it seemed he was desperately looking for a job. Well, if he doesn't make the payments, I'll just contact him again. I wasn't struggling financially, so I decided to wait confidently. And when I checked my account on the monthly payment date, the money was properly deposited. I'm surprised. I totally expected him to either be late or not pay at all. While I was impressed, my cell phone in my bag rang. It was another call from Tom. Hello? I told you to go through the lawyer if there was anything. I'm sorry. Tom's voice was very feeble. Did you check the money? Yes, I was surprised it was deposited properly. This time my folks covered it for me. Tom said, unabashed about having his parents pay. Well, it's partly the in-laws' fault too, so I guess it's fine. I convinced myself of Tom's attitude. Is that so? Found any work yet? You're gonna have to start paying for yourself next time, right? I didn't mean to tease, but Tom took it as if he was being mocked. Tom was as emotionally volatile as ever. One moment he seemed down, the next he was lashing out. Shut up! I've paid for now. Tom was as emotionally volatile as ever. One moment he seemed down, the next he was lashing out. Make sure to transfer the money on time next time, okay? Bye. Why Tom called at this timing was beyond me, but I decided it wasn't worth asking and quickly ended the call. For now, it was clear he still hadn't found a job, I thought. Well, let's buy some delicious cake on the way home and have it with tea after dinner. I hurried home. On a lazy afternoon as the next payment neared, I got a call from a lawyer. It was about Tom's future. Desperate for a job, Tom realized he wouldn't be hired in that town anymore, as the word had spread. Trying his luck in a town a bit further away, he easily landed a job. He would be moving there soon. Trying his luck in a town a bit further away, he easily landed a job. He would be moving there soon. I had shared my concerns about delayed payments with the lawyer, who called to update me. I listened to it quietly from my cell. I hoped at least for Tom to keep up with the child support as a minimal act of reparation for our daughters. That was all I asked for, the rest didn't matter. Women are unnecessary, he had declared, abandoning his daughters, yet now he'd unwittingly work hard for them. Imagining Tom's situation, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. Do your best. I felt incredibly happy with my life with my current husband and our 4 kids.